Hi, I'm Daniel, and this is day 0 of my gluten-free, dairy-free experiment. I'm actually a little bit daunted by being in front of a camera, and I'm hoping I get a bit more natural as time progresses. The actual challenge itself is somewhat daunting as well. I'm going to persevere with it though and see how I go. So if you wanted to have a look in more depth about what I'm actually doing and why I'm doing it, feel free to check out my blog. It has a lot more details capturing the actual science behind my approach. For these videos, I'm going to keep them fairly concise and just almost a summary of my findings. And this first period is based on a fairly significant time eating a moderately high gluten and moderately high dairy diet, pretty much daily bread, daily milk. So let's have a look at some of the objective measures. I'm going to bring up a text box so you can see the data that I've been able to collect. In terms of weight at 96.7 kilograms, this is the heaviest I've been for a long time, and I'm actually quite surprised by how quickly I've gained that weight. It's come up from about 92.5 kilograms, so I've gained nearly 4 kilograms in about 2 or 3 months of going on this unrestricted diet. My waist circumference, which is a pretty important measure, is much higher than I'd like it to be. It's about 42.5 inches, and before I did this it was actually a bit less than 40, so it's come up to the unhealthy range. My fasting blood glucose is about 4.8, which is fairly good, and it's probably not too much to worry about. I wouldn't mind it being a little bit lower, but I'm attributing the success I've had there to keeping up and maintaining that moderate amount of exercise. My body fat percentage is about double what I'd like it to be, and even though I'm going probably by the worst case scenario at 32% there, I think probably, even if I had to guess or estimate what it would be about 24% based on how I look in the mirror and my current strength levels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put up some pictures now just to sort of show where I was from different angles so people can make up their own mind. I've started with a side shot just to show how dramatically you can alter your appearance by standing up taller and sucking in your stomach. This is what I'd see when I'm looking in the mirror. I think there's room for improvement. While I'm not obese, I am carrying a little bit of extra weight. Here's a shot from behind, illustrating again the difference between when I'm relaxing and when I'm actively posing. And finally, here's a close-up shot of my clean-shaven face. I wanted to capture my complexion and clarity. In terms of my wellness measures, and all of these are measured out of 10, they're all on the negative side of where I'd like them to be. I'm actually most concerned about my low energy levels and my high stress levels, because I think if I can get those into check and bring them up a bit, then all the other measures are going to fall into place and follow suit. So the only one that's actually, to me, satisfactory or approaching that is my libido levels, which basically show that what the human body prioritizes in the face of abuse from a diet. In terms of my symptoms now, these measures are quite a lot higher than I was expecting them to be. Now these ones are measured out of 5, and I'm wondering if this is related to my heightened awareness by deliberately paying attention to these areas. And I'm also wondering though if they've increased in relation to my gluten or dairy rich diet, or if I've always been this way and I've just kind of ignored the symptoms. I guess the main concerns here are my irritability and brain fog. I think these are really actually detracting from my quality of life. Some of the other observations that I think are worth noting at the moment is basically just by checking in and paying attention to how I've been feeling. I've noticed that I often feel kind of detached and lacking in animation in my daily life, and this is partially reflected in my mood and energy levels, but there's a certain less tangible quality that's hard to describe. I became sick 3 times during this phase of unrestricted eating, and that's unheard of for me. I can't ever recall getting sick 3 times in a row, and I'm wondering actually if my immune system is somewhat taxed by this diet. Also, I had 2 episodes of marginal keratitis, which is some inflammation around the cornea of the eye, which I used to get some time back. But I immediately noticed this the day after I started taking whey protein, and that was just another clue, I think, that maybe I'm reacting to the diet, or maybe it's just a coincidence. It's hard to tell at this time. The other thing that I looked at is the strong cravings that I've been having. They've remained consistently strong, and the part about that that concerns me is I've allowed myself to give in to those cravings and eat the foods I've wanted to eat, but it hasn't really been satisfying to do so. It's almost like I can't satisfy those cravings very easily, and that, I think, is a bit different than how I would have expected it in the past. If I gave in to and ate what I wanted to, I would feel a lot more satisfied. So they're probably the key things I wanted to talk about, and I think I've got a really good baseline over a 3-week period for often many of these measures to really compare to moving forward. I guess I'm just going to have to see how I go for the challenge and do regular posts and just see what the effects might be. So thank you. I wanted to make a postscript remark that summarizes what this provocative test has been like, which has lasted about 2 months now, and that is that I didn't experience any really good days throughout the whole period, and there wasn't a single day that I had that I didn't experience some degree of the symptoms that I was tracking. Almost on the contrary, I had some profoundly low periods as well. There was a distinct moment that I wanted to withdraw from the experiment. My mood was really low, my energy levels were low, and I was having moderate to severe symptoms in all the measures I was tracking. And it was really at that point that I was convinced that the diet was having a profoundly negative impact on my well-being.